Don't get all excited. Good morning. I will now call to order the July 28, 2022 Clackamas County Board of Commissioners business meeting. Gary, County Administrator, would you please call the roll?
Yes, Chair Smith. First, our staff support today, Clerk to the Board, Tony Mayernick, County Counsel, Assistant Counsel, Jeff Munns. Commissioner Savas is returning from a regional transportation meeting and will be here shortly, but is not here right now. With that, roll call. Commissioner Schrader?
Here.
Commissioner Fisher?
Here.
Commissioner Shull?
Here.
Chair Smith?
Here. I will now lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everyone. We are holding this meeting in person and virtually. If you've joined us via Zoom for this meeting and are interested in providing public comment, we will prompt you regarding how to do that when the time is right. General public comment will be taken at the usual time. I would like to remind all participants, including staff, all elected officials, and members of the public, that Robert's Rules of Order will be observed in this business meeting. We welcome your opinions and look forward to your polite participation. I will now recess as the Board of County Commissioners and convene as a Housing Authority Board. Gary, would you please introduce this item?
Yes, this is the Housing Authority Board consent agenda. First, we will invite Housing Commissioner Ann Leenstra to join. She is on Zoom. Are you present, Commissioner Leenstra?
Good morning.
Very good. Thank you. Welcome, Commissioner Leenstra. This is a Housing Authority consent agenda. Tony, would you please read the consent agenda?
Housing Authority consent agenda, there are two items. Item 1 is approval of an intergovernmental agreement with Clackamas County for the rehabilitation of Jansen Road Apartments in Clackamas, Oregon. Agreement value is $294,000. $245,000 is funded through Community Development Block Grant Funds, balanced through Housing Authority local project funds. No county general funds are involved. Item 2, approval of moving to work plan and application and adoption of Resolution 1968, authorizing submission of the plan and application to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development and authorizing the Executive Director to sign an amendment to the annual contribution contract and implement the program. No fiscal impact, no county general funds are involved. Madam Chair, that concludes the list.
Thank you, Tony. Does any commissioner wish to remove an item off of this consent agenda? And I will consider a motion.
I move we approve the Housing Authority consent agenda.
Second.
Commissioner Ann Leenstra has moved for the approval of the housing consent agenda, and Commissioner Schrader has seconded that motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Tony, please take the poll.
Commissioner Leenstra?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader?
Aye.
Commissioner Schull,
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much, Commissioner Leenstra, for... I said 5?
5. It's 5.
That is correct, because with Ann, that's 5.
Yeah.
That's
Sorry.
all right.
Sorry, Judy.
No, that's okay. No big deal. Thank you very much, and have a good day.
You're welcome. Good day.
All righty. I will now adjourn as a Housing Authority Board and convene as the North Clackamas County Parks and Recreation District. Gary.
Thank you. This is the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District, a public hearing, which is a second reading of North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District Ordinance Number 04-2022 and ordinance amending the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District Ordinance Number 04-2012, adopted May 10th, 2012, establishing and adjusting fees and declaring an emergency. Jeff Munns, County Counsel, will present, and Mike Bork, Director of the Parks District, is also here in attendance. Jeff, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Chair Smith, Commissioners, this matter is before you today as a second reading of an ordinance to withdraw the delegation of authority that was done in 2012 to the district administrator or district director to establish fees. This is being withdrawn by this ordinance to vest that authority solely in the board, which would be consistent with your other authority for setting fees by county code. So this would be for NCPRD to be handled likewise. And it declares an emergency, so it's effective immediately.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have nothing to add. Mike Bork, NCPRD Director, unless you have any questions. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Do commissioners have any questions, comments at this point? I will now open a public hearing, taking the in-person testimony first. I don't see anybody in the room testifying on this. Tony, do we have anybody on Zoom?
At this time, I do not have anyone registered to speak for this public hearing. If there is anyone who would like to provide public comment on this hearing, please use the raise hand feature, and I will call you in the order received. Madam Chair, I do not have any hands raised.
Thank you. I will now close the public hearing and ask if there's any further discussion. I will entertain a motion.
I move we approve NCPRD Ordinance 04-2022 and direct the clerk to read the ordinance by title only.
Second.
Commissioner Schull has moved we approve the NCPRD ordinance, and Commissioner Fisher has seconded the motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Tony, would you please take the poll?
Commissioner Schrader.
Aye.
Commissioner Schull.
Aye.
Commissioner Savas.
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher.
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Clerk, would you please read the ordinance by title only?
Ordinance number 04-2022, an ordinance amending ordinance 04-2012, adopted on May 10, 2012.
Thank you. Gary, what's next?
You're still meeting as the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District. This is now the consent agenda for the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District. Tony, would you please read the consent agenda?
North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District, there are 2 items. Item 1, approval of a subrecipient amendment extending the duration, increasing funding, modifying the scope of work, and adjusting budgeting of a federal subrecipient grant agreement with Clackamas County for the provision of meals, health promotion activities, transportation, and referral services to eligible individuals. Amendment value is $436,013. Grant value now $889,637. Funding is through U.S. Administration for Community Living, Oregon Department of Human Services, Ride Connection, and Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program. No county general funds are involved. Item 2, approval of Boardman property name recommendation from the District Advisory Committee. Fiscal impact is $200 for signage. Funding is through budgeted NCPRD general funds. No county general funds are involved. Madam Chair, that concludes the list.
Thank you very much. Any commissioners with wish to remove anything from this list? Seeing none, any discussion? I will entertain a motion.
I move
Approve the consent agenda?
Second.
Commissioner Savas has moved for approval of the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District consent agenda, and Commissioner Schrader has seconded that motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Tony, please call the poll.
Commissioner Savas.
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader.
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher.
Aye.
Commissioner Schull.
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. I will now adjourn as the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District and reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners. Gary, what's next?
Next is a public hearing, which is a second reading of Ordinance 05-2022, an ordinance declaring a temporary ban on psilocybin service centers and the manufacture of psilocybin products, and adoption of a board order delegating to County Council the task of preparing materials to qualify Ordinance 05-2022 for the November 8, 2022 ballot. Jeff Munns, County Council, will present. Go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you. As was just introduced, this is the second reading of an ordinance which would ban psilocybin manufacture and service centers, be a referral to the voters of that question if they want to ban it for 2 years. This ordinance includes a sunset clause for December 31st, 2024. As was discussed last time during the first reading, this is necessary because OHA is still putting together their rules, and their rules will be completed by the end of this year, and they will be able to start issuing licenses to individuals to manufacture and run these service centers beginning January 1st of 2023. And so by referring this to the voters choose, in voting in favor of this, they may ban this for 2 years, and then this would sunset at the end of December of 2024, and then OHA potentially would do it in 2025 unless further action by this board is taken, to again refer it to the voters. So I guess any questions that you may have?
Yes, Commissioner Fisher.
Yeah. Thank you, Jeffrey. We've had some emails about this, and I'm sure we'll hear from some folks today. But one thing that was highlighted in some of the community input that's come in for the last, has it been 2 weeks now? Yeah, 2
I think
weeks.
so.
2 weeks. Is that because the voters supported this, that we shouldn't send it out again. And I'm just curious, along those lines with those concerns that the voters already approved this, what is the cost of having us put this on the ballot?
You know, I don't know the cost. It's not something I've been involved in calculating what it would cost for us to put this on the ballot. That's something that we can obtain for you and give you an estimate as to what the cost to hold an election on this question would be.
Okay, that would be helpful to know, so I'd be curious about that. But then at the same time, just as a comment, as I put this through in my mind, what the voters voted for was overarching policy, and then what we're concerned about is the lack of rules and how things will be implemented. So it's kind of like things have changed a bit, but understanding what the cost is would be helpful to know.
Yep, thank you, Commissioner Fisher. I'll just add this is temporary. Commissioner Savas?
Actually, Commissioner Schrader had her light on first.
Oh, I couldn't
okay.
tell.
Yeah,
ahead.
I just wanted to mention exactly what you said, Chair Smith. This is temporary, and I have no doubt that there is evidence out there that certainly this could be helpful for various conditions. My concern is that I'm not convinced the way the Oregon Health Authority is implementing it is something I particularly feel comfortable with, and we need to make sure if this moves forward that it is implemented in a way where people are safe. This is a hallucinogenic material. Evidently, there is some medical evidence that it can help with depression and other issues. That's not what I'm disputing. But putting people in a situation where there's someone that has only 120 hours of training, who is there to be with someone who's taking a hallucinogen, a substance of that kind that could have a bad trip, really is concerning to me. I wish that we could really, with a lot of these substances, I think it needs to go, my own personal opinion, is it needs to go through an FDA process where it is medically tested, dosages are outlined, it's under the direct purview of a medical professional who is aware of the side effects. So I do think that we need to put a pause on this. And I think that those kinds of things I just mentioned need to be discussed. Anyway.
Thank you, Commissioner Schrader. Commissioner Savas?
Yeah, thank you. Well, I have a different opinion, I think it's to the fact that, number one, this is a temporary ban, it's not a permanent ban. I suppose if we were making a permanent ban, that argument might have some merit, but in this case, it's really not the same thing that's before the voters. I was a little bit stunned, actually, the fact that the state had not had their rulemaking completed. That's not the voters' fault, that's not our fault, but I think it's more important that what we've seen so far does not provide me any comfort, or apparently members of this board any comfort, that this will be administered in a safe way. If someone can get a dosage of this and has the own personal right after they're on this hallucinogenic to walk out the door and jump in a car or a motorcycle, and under those conditions, could result, and there are already several cases. I just urge anyone to type in mushrooms, murders, or psilocybin, murders, and you'll see quite a few people that were in a state of hallucinogenic crisis and committed just horrific crimes to people. So it's concerning for the safety of our citizens. I think the safety of our communities today is bad enough as it is, with drugs and alcohol and everything else. It's just adding another layer right now, and not knowing there's clear guidance from the state is just not responsible. So I think putting this on the voters for a decision, if they say no and they affirm that ballot initiative 109, then that's what they say. So this is giving them a choice. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Savas. Commissioner Scholl.
Last week, the first hearing we heard from Dr. Present, I asked her if she felt that psilocybin had the potential to help some of our residents in the county with easing addiction problems. She indicated that she felt it would. So there are some very positive potentials coming from the use of psilocybin. The other one is easing PTSD. But I, too, am concerned that we're getting the cart before the horse, as the state has not finalized these rules on the administration of psilocybin. But for those people in the county who have a need confirmed by their doctor that psilocybin will help them, I am willing to bet that on January of next year, when the licenses start being put out, that there will be counties and cities not far from here where people can get that treatment. So it's not like a ban in Clackamas County is going to be denying people who might benefit from this the chance to use it. Okay, so I support the ban today.
Thank you. I'd like to mention this ban applies to unincorporated counties only. And in my discussion a couple of weeks ago with the mayors, they were surprised that about the information that we received. And I sent all the mayors in the county a link to our 90-minute discussion on it. 2 cities so far, the city of Sandy is issuing to the voters a temporary 2-year ban. Just got a call a few minutes ago from the mayor of Molalla, who their city council has voted for a permanent ban to refer to voters. And I suspect some other mayors will be doing the same, just to take a pause on this. Now, voters passed Measure 110, and this is Measure 109, right, Jeff?
Correct.
Yeah. They passed them at the same time. Remember what Measure 110 did? It made legal a lot of these drugs out there, and now we're having a fentanyl problem. And the public safety, our police, and our social service agencies are overwhelmed by people addicted to drugs. The voters passed the mushroom measure at the same time, thinking that it would be okay. We have since learned that it could be very difficult to administer. Counties are charged with placing time, place, and manner on this, similar to marijuana. However, the manufacturing and the retail sales of this are in separate facilities. I, too, am concerned that a person can leave they don't even call them clinics because they're not medically administered, and I have a problem with that. I have a problem trying to administer medical health conditions such as depression, anxiety, addiction, PSTD, and other health problems from a person who is not a licensed medical advocate or provider. And I'm not sure what that looks like, but that is a very big problem for me. You can give somebody a mushroom, either eat it dried or the liquid form, and they could enter into an altered state. Could, not necessarily, but they could, and they cannot detain them in these service centers. They are free to get in their car, like Commissioner Savas says, and drive. I have problems with that. I said, well, if they do that, where's their liability? Is there liability attached in the event the person gets in a car, is altered state, gets in an accident, or hurts somebody? That is a real concern I have. I think that there's an education effort that needs to be done. I'm going to inform commissioners. I'm going to submit a voter's pamphlet statement alongside this ballot measure, explaining what we have heard. Any other commissioner, I'm going to pay for it myself. Any other commissioner who wants to sign on to that with me is more than welcome to do that, saying this is a temporary ban, waiting for the Oregon Health Authority to resolve these questions that this Board of Commissioners has asked. And it's an education. And I'm also going to say, I don't support the use at this time. Now, it may be wonderful. You know, doctors like it, but doctors don't deal with the societal effects that we do. Doctors don't have to fund mental health clinics or any of our other clinics or provide social services. And I think that's an issue. So that's what I'm going to do. Let me know if you want to join with me or not. You don't have to. You can submit your own, or you can be silent. All of that is perfectly fine. Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, I just have a question for both our legal counsel and actually for you, Chair. Have you had any conversations in the mayor-chair settings with our cities to know which ones are acting and which ones are not acting? You mentioned what you knew today.
I did, and Paul, I have to say they both were alarmed. The Lake Oswego mayor says, why don't you just do a permanent ban and be done with it? I said, that's fine, but you do know this does not apply to cities. They were like, holy cow. They were shocked. I says, well, you know, they didn't get finished with this until the end of the fiscal year, June 30th. I suspect, Paul, others will be following suit, but I really can't mention names because I don't want to put them in a bad spot.
Yep. My understanding, there might be at least a city or two that's not going to take any action, which means that there'll be places in Clackamas County maybe where if they set up shop, they can do that. So thank you. My question for legal counsel is, will this be voted on by every citizen in the county or just in the unincorporated areas?
Well, it would just be the unincorporated areas because that's what it would apply to, because the cities are able to do their own.
Okay. All right. So so someone will not receive, it will not be on their ballot for this, whatever this measure number is, for someone who lives in a city. They will not see this. They will not be able to vote. It will not be on their ballot.
Correct. Not for this one, unless the city, of course, refers their own.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this? I will now open a public hearing and take in-person testimony first. Do we have anybody in the room who would like to testify on this issue? I see no one. Tony, do we have folks on Zoom?
Madam Chair, at this time, I have one person registered.
Okay.
I will call them. I will also make it possible anyone else who would like to speak, please use the raise hand feature, and I will introduce you after this speaker. The first speaker is going to be Loriana Gouillet. Ms. Gouillet, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. It's pronounced Lorena Guyette.
Lorena, apologies. Would you please state your name and your area of residence? You will have 3 minutes.
Like I said, my name is Lorena Guyette. I'm a resident at 97089 Damascus, Oregon, or Boring, Oregon, depending on the day. So just to, am I good to speak continuously now? All right, so I just wanted to say that I was following this, and I appreciate the opportunity. Wanted to kind of discuss this particularly because some of the rhetoric that has been surrounding psilocybin has been really concerning for me, particularly as a woman of color. I find a lot of the rhetoric to be really harmful, stigmatizing, and rooted in ignorance as well as white supremacy. As previously recalled, there was a request for studies done. However, that does not take into account that this was marked as a Schedule 1 drug, which makes it very hard to schedule or make it very hard to test. And very hard for people to be willing to go into studies involving this drug. But since 2000, I have, with this little Google search, I found at least 5 studies from 2011 to now, indicating that there has been very minimal side effects of this drug when observed. Maybe a light headache, but that's been not severe and not disabling. This actually has been a substance that is shown to have high success rates and increased success rates for treatments for addiction. As well as to promote emotional empathy in people, particularly those with dysfunctional social cognitions. There are other studies that indicate more, but a lot of it is that there's more research needed for that, and that is very difficult when it is something that is stigmatized as so much as it is. These are all results that can be found in the National Library of Medicine. The substance alone is not addictive. It does not have anything chemically that causes it to be addictive scientifically. That does not mean that it's impossible for it to be addictive. I personally am addicted to running, but we're not banning running or trying to institute a 2-year ban on running. And when you look at some of the therapeutic sessions, particularly how these studies are done and the typical guidelines for how this stuff is administered, it does not necessarily require someone to have anything more than 120 hours, particularly because the normal suggested method for this study is for people to be able to take it, be in a room with someone to guide them through the process and observe them, generally with soothing music. I don't necessarily know if any of you have a lot of research and understanding of how this is administered, but that is the typical guideline for when it is administered by professionals, particularly by scientists. The substance is something that has grown naturally here, and the history of its ban can be rooted back down to even when the Catholic Church had its missionary trips or missionary missions all across our western border, typically villainized and typically used to prevent indigenous people from their normal traditional religious practices, as well as most recently the war on drugs, which was used to villainize people like me, people of color. And this has been stated. I just want to end this with one quote from John Earl Lichtman, who was the assistant to the president of domestic affairs under the President Richard Nixon. Quote, "You want to know what this war on drugs was really about? The Nixon campaign in 1968 and the Nixon White House after that had 2 enemies, the anti-war left and the Black people. You understand what I'm saying? We knew we couldn't make it illegal to be either against the war or Black, but by getting the public to associate hippies with marijuana and Black people with heroin, then criminalizing both heavily, we could disrupt those communities, we could arrest their leaders, raid their homes, break up their meetings, and vilify them night after night on the evening news. Did we know we were lying about the drugs? Of course we did," unquote. So I find it really important that when we're having this discussion.
Thank you, Lorena, thank you very much. I let you finish your quote. Can you wrap it up?
I am. Thank you so much. So I just wanted to add this when we're having these discussions to be very aware of where this rhetoric is rooted and making sure that we are following what scientists are saying and what the history has shown us.
Thank you very much for calling in today. Tony,
Thank you.
do we have somebody else?
If there is anyone who would like to provide comment on this hearing, please use the raise hand feature at this time. Madam Chair, I do not have any hands raised.
I would like to make a point of clarification from the last caller, and granted, I could not hear everything, but regarding her quote from a presidential administration official, we are asking the voters to take a pause temporarily. We are not criminalizing mushrooms. We are waiting for rulemaking authority, and I think that's very prudent, and I think it's good care of our citizens of this county. Any other comments? Any other people?
Not at this time, Madam Chair.
Okay, I will now close the public hearing on this issue. Commissioner Fisher, you're up.
So I appreciate Commissioner Savis's questions about what this does and doesn't do. And I'm really struggling because I have a problem with Oregon Health Authority not giving guidance, complete guidance, and I'm conflicted about that, mostly in regards to the manufacturer, and not so much in the training service centers, how it's administered, given my confidence in Dr. Present and her presentation that she gave, which alleviated a lot of my concerns about that element of it. And from what Dr. Present said, those rules have been done. So in that sense, I feel okay about not putting a pause, but the piece that I'm now very conflicted with is we are a county that has been working so hard to, and we tell our county administrator, it's like, is this structurally sound budget? Is this financially responsible? Is this? So I think everything we have to do, we have to weigh against that. And the fact that it will not stop this from being set up in other jurisdictions within Clackamas County, I honestly don't know what good our efforts are today. So my struggle is sort of a cost-benefit analysis, is how much is it going to cost to put this on the ballot, administer all of that, versus what good will it do? I'm struggling with that, and I don't think anybody can answer that question today.
Okay.
Or can they? I guess I'm looking to Gary.
I mean, we can get you those numbers immediately, but my thought is the cost is minimal because we're already going to the November ballot. This is not a special election. That's where the costs occur, when there's a special election.
Okay,
and you have to
this
put
is
that
helpful.
together. This is an ongoing, we're already going to the November ballot, part of the county's prepared budget in the clerk's office. So I would say the cost is minuscule, if any, since
Well,
we're
that-
already going to the ballot.
That helps me on that point. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Anybody else making other comments? I will entertain a motion.
I move we approve ordinance 05-2022, adopt the board order delegating to county council the task of preparing materials to qualify ordinance 05-2022 for the November 8th, 2022 ballot, and direct the clerk to read the ordinance by title only.
Second.
Commissioner Schrader has moved we approve the ordinance and adopt the board order regarding referring to the voters on the November 8 ballot. Commissioner Savas has seconded that motion. Any further discussion? Tony, please call the poll.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Savas,
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
Commissioner Schull,
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Commissioners, I thank you for your thoughtful consideration on all points on this, and this is our last hearing, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you very much, Jeffrey Mums, for doing this.
Chair,
Yes,
the clerk needs to read the title.
yes, I'm getting to that. Thank you very much. Clerk, please read the title.
Ordinance 05-2022, an ordinance declaring a temporary ban on psilocybin service centers and the manufacture of psilocybin products.
Thank you. Gary, what's next?
All right, thank you. Next is the consent agenda. It's a long one. Tony, would you please read the consent agenda?
Yes, let me get that pulled up. Elected officials, item 1, approval of July 21st, 2022 business meeting minutes for the Board of County Commissioners. Item 2, approval of an amendment extending the duration and increasing reimbursable amounts for the intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Department of Transportation for snow park parking permit enforcement by Clackamas County Sheriff's Office. Amendment value is $1,530 per fiscal year. Total reimbursement now not to exceed $8,280 per fiscal year. Funding is through the Oregon Department of Transportation. No county general funds are involved. This is for the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office. Disaster Management, item 1, approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Emergency Management for the Upper Sandy River Flood Warning System Upgrade Project. Total value is $94,408. 75% funding is through the FEMA Hazard Mitigation Grant Program and 25% budgeted county general funds. Resolution Services, item 1, approval of an amendment adding funding for an eviction mediation demonstration project to the 2021-2023 grant amendment with University of Oregon's Office for Community Dispute Resolution, adding funding for an eviction mediation demonstration project. Amendment value is $392,389. Agreement value is increased to $509,711. Funding is through University of Oregon. No county general funds are involved. Transportation and Development, item 1, approval of a personal services contract with LRS Architects Incorporated for design services for the Clackamas County Fairground and Event Center multi-use building, and addendum assigning responsibility for the contract to the Clackamas County Fair Board. Contract not to exceed $439,714. Funding is through the Fair Board's State American Recovery Plan Act allocations. No county general funds are involved. County Administration, item 1, approval of an amendment to the contract with LWT Partnership for P3 technical advisory services related to the Clackamas County Courthouse project. Amendment value is $2,009,700. Contract value is now $4,598,325. Funding is 50% Oregon Courthouse Construction and Improvement Fund and 50% county general funds. Health, Housing, and Human Services, item 1, approval of a personal services contract with Bridges to Change Incorporated for temporary housing for mental health and substance abuse clients. Contract value not to exceed $499,380 over 23 months. Funding is through Health Centers program income as well as Criminal Justice Commission grant. No county general funds are involved. Item 2, approval of a subrecipient amendment extending the duration and increasing funding of a federal subrecipient agreement with Senior Citizens Council of Clackamas County Incorporated for the provision of guardianship, conservatorship, guardianship diversion, and case management services to eligible individuals. Amendment value is $163,350. Grant value is increased to $324,134 over 2 years. Funding is through U.S. Administration for Community Living, Oregon Department of Human Services, and budgeted county general funds. In the interest of time, items 3 through 9 are identical in wording. The difference is the recipient. I will read item 3 and consolidate the rest. Item 3, approval of subrecipient amendment extending the duration, increasing funding, and modifying the scope of work of a federal subrecipient agreement with Friends of Canby Adult Center Incorporated for the provision of meals, health promotion activities, transportation, and referral services to eligible individuals. Amendment value is $285,048. Grant value is increased to $554,740 over 2 years. Funding is through U.S. Administration for Community Living, Oregon Department of Human Services, Ride Connection, Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program funds. No county general funds are involved. Item 4 is for the Foothills Community Church on behalf of its Malala Adult Community Center. The amendment value is $162,202. Grant value is now $350,086 over 2 years. Item 5 is for the City of Oregon City on behalf of its Pioneer Community Center. Amendment value is $174,586. Grant value is now $362,818 over 2 years. Item 6 is for the Friends of Estacada Community Center Incorporated. Amendment value is $152,152. Grant value is now $316,052 over 2 years. Item 7 is with the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District on behalf of its Milwaukee Center. Amendment value is $436,013. Grant value is increased to $889,637 over 2 years. Item 8 is with the City of Wilsonville on behalf of its Wilsonville Community Center. Amendment value is $121,320. Grant value is increased to $249,730 over 2 years. Item 9, the City of Gladstone on behalf of its Gladstone Senior Center. Amendment value is $62,435. Grant value is increased to $128,493 over 2 years. Item 10, approval of an amendment to the agreement for services with Community and Shelter Assistance of Oregon to sign up qualifying low-income clients for individual development accounts for the period of April 1st, 2021 to March 31st, 2022. Amendment value is $40,680. Agreement value is now $91,530 for 1 year. Funding is through Community and Shelter Assistance of Oregon. No county general funds are involved. Item 11, approval of an agreement for services with Community and Shelter Assistance of Oregon to sign up qualifying low-income clients for individual development accounts for the period of April 1st, 2022 to March 31st, 2023. Agreement value is $74,580 for 1 year. Funding is through Community and Shelter Assistance of Oregon. No county general funds are involved. Item 12, approval of a personal services contract with NSoftTech Incorporated for the design and implementation of a new behavioral health electronic health record system. Contract value not to exceed $643,474 over 5 years. Funding is through Behavioral Health Fund balance. No county general funds are involved. Item 13, approval of a local subrecipient grant agreement with LifeWorks Northwest to provide evidence-based parenting education classes. Grant value is $8,008 for 11 months. Funding is through Oregon State University grant funds. No county general funds are involved. Item 14, approval of a local subrecipient grant agreement with Clackamas Women's Services to provide evidence-based parenting education classes. Grant value is $26,783 for 11 months. Funding is through Oregon State University grant funds. No county general funds are involved. Item 15, approval of an intergovernmental agreement with Oregon City School District to provide evidence-based parenting education classes. Agreement value not to exceed $10,000 for 11 months. Funding is through Oregon State University grant funds. No county general funds are involved. Item 16, approval of an amendment extending the duration of an intergovernmental agreement with Gladstone School District for the continuation of evidence-based parenting education classes. Amendment has no fiscal impact. Agreement value remains at $23,200. Funding is through Oregon Community Foundation. No county general funds are involved. Item 17, approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the Housing Authority of Clackamas County for the rehabilitation of the Jansen Road apartments in Clackamas, Oregon. Agreement value is $294,000. $245,000 of funding is through Community Development Block Grant Funds, and balance is through Housing Authority Local Project Funds. No county general funds are involved. Item 18, approval to apply for infrastructure grant improving provider capacity with Oregon Department of Human Services. Grant value is $586,901. Funding through Oregon Department of Human Services. No county general funds are involved. Madam Chair, that concludes the list.
Great. Thank you, Tony. Very good. Does any commissioner wish to remove anything off this particular consent agenda? Any further comments?
Great job.
All right. I'll entertain a motion.
I move for approval of the consent agenda.
Seconded.
Commissioner Schrader has moved for approval of consent agenda, seconded by Commissioner Scholl. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Tony, please take the poll.
Commissioner Fisher.
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader.
Aye.
Commissioner Scholl.
Aye.
Commissioner Savas.
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. I will now recess as the Board of County Commissioners and convene as a Development Agency Board. Gary.
Next is the consent agenda for the Development Agency Board. Tony, would you please read the consent agenda?
Development Agency has one item, approval of an intergovernmental agreement with Clackamas River Water for the Linwood Avenue Improvement Project. Agreement value is $163,780. Funding through Clackamas River Water. No county general funds are involved.
Does any commissioner wish to remove anything off this consent agenda? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I move for approval of the Development Agency consent agenda.
Second.
Commissioner Schrader has moved for approval of this consent agenda from the Development Agency. Commissioner Fisher has seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Tony, please take the poll.
Commissioner Schrader.
Aye.
Commissioner Scholl.
Aye.
Commissioner Savas.
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher.
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much. I will now adjourn as the Development Agency Board and reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners. Up next is public communication. This portion of the agenda shall be limited to items of county business which are properly the object of board consideration and should be nonpartisan in nature, as the BCC is a nonpartisan governing body under Oregon Revised Statutes and County Code. Testimony is limited to 3 minutes. Comment shall be respectful and courteous to all. As a reminder, you can email submissions for public communication at bcc@clackamas.us, and these will be accepted as part of the public record. However, we will not be reading them at the business meeting due to time constraints. I will now open the public meeting for testimony, and we have someone in our present. We have the Hamlet of Malino representative. You will have 5 minutes to speak. Laurel Roses, would you please come forward? And take your time, as I think you're the only person in the room that wants to testify today. Welcome. Please introduce yourself.
I'm Laurel Roses. I'm the Vice Chairman of the Hamlet of Malino.
Go ahead.
Okay, so every year, except for the last couple of years because of COVID, we try to come before you and tell you what's happening in Malino. And this is our 15th year being a hamlet. 15 years ago, we presented our petition to the Board of County Commissioners, and you approved us being able to form our unincorporated rural community into a hamlet. And we feel like it has been a wonderful success. We've had bumpy, rocky roads with ODOT and bridge projects and widening roads and everything like that, which is why we formed the hamlet in the first place, so that we could be more involved and have a seat at the table. And we've had a seat at the table on some pretty impactful committees over the years. And we really appreciate that opportunity to be a hamlet so that we have a seat at the table. So there's 4 main things going on in Malino Hamlet right now. We have, every September, we have our elections, and we alternate. We have 5 directors, elected directors, and then from those directors, we appoint officers. So we have elections coming up in September, but kind of with Katie resigning and then not having someone, we're kind of behind on that. But hopefully the county sends out a mailer for us once a year. And the mailer invites everyone in the community to our annual community event, which you are all invited to. It's always the last Saturday of August, so it's August 27th. Hamburgers, live music. If you have a cool car, we have a cruise in, and then we have a movie at dusk. We have a wonderful time. We allow politicians to mill, but we do not allow them to politic. So we try to just keep it a wonderful community event right before the kids head back to school. So we're really looking forward to that because it's been canceled the last 3 years. So we're going to put on a show. So hopefully our mailers go out before then, and Stacy Davenport found the template for it, so she's working really hard on that, which we appreciate. We also, almost 2 years ago, submitted update to our bylaws, because when we were first to Hamlet, we had the secretary and the treasurer be the same job, and that was me. And now I'm the vice chair, and they've split the secretary treasurer job, and so we need our bylaws updated to do that. And so we need county help to get that updated also. On the website, if someone wants to run for the board of directors in the Hamlet of Malino, the heading says Malino Hamlet, but when you read the heading for the person who's going to be the candidate, it says Beaver Creek. And it also says Beaver Creek on Stafford's. And we've been trying for several years to get that changed. And so far, it still says Beaver Creek. I think they just used a general template for the application, and in the heading, it says Malino and Stafford, but when you actually read the directions, it says Beaver Creek. So Beaver Creek must have been the first one to become a hamlet, so they got their name in there. I think we need to push forward a little bit. Hopefully by September, it will be changed and say Malino all the way through our application, because candidates got really confused when they read that. They're like, wait, I don't want to run for Beaver Creek. I want to run for Malino. So we really need to get that change before September so that people who are interested in running for our board of directors aren't so confused. And then we are going to be petitioning you commissioners to authorize a boundary change for the Hamlet of Malino. We would like the entire 97042 Malino zip code to be incorporated into the Malino Hamlet. For one reason, when we send out our mailer there's no way for the post office in Malino to separate our boundaries. And there's a big section up in the Clark's area and a little section of Molalla that get our mailer but aren't in our hamlet boundaries, but they have a Malino zip code. So they identify as being a Malino citizen. So it's all very confusing, and we have no idea how these boundaries ever got put in place in the first place. One of the historians out there in Malino said that it was old fire district boundaries or something that don't even exist anymore. But there's weird boundaries out in rural Clackamas County that you wonder, how did they get this boundary? So we're kind of dealing with that.
Continue.
We're hoping to be able to petition you, but we kind of need to know what that process is. And it affects the boundaries of Colton CPO, Beaver Creek Hamlet, Molalla CPO, and the Clark's Highlands CPO. We've reached out to all 4 of those entities, and all but the Clark's Highlands CPO have absolutely no problem with it. And Clark's Highland CPO was confused as to thinking that Malino Hamlet was going to come in and take over their CPO. Sure. And so they came to our meeting last month, and we assured them CPO boundaries have nothing to do with hamlet boundaries. We also function as the Malino CPO, and our CPO boundaries will stay the same. We're just asking for an adjustment to the Malino Hamlet boundaries so that everyone with the Malino zip code is a member of the Malino Hamlet. And so we need to know what that process is. So we're hoping to have some guidance from the commissioners or whoever your staff is that would know that better than us. Do we need to petition, get a number of signatures from the people in the area we're talking about in order to get approved to make that change? So that's kind of it. Other than that, everything's great in Malino.
Thank you. I drive through Malino twice a day. Sometimes I go Beaver Creek Road. Gary, what do we do about that petition? Can we assign somebody to help Laurel with this?
Actually, that's the role of our public and government affairs staff. I'm sorry you've not gotten the service you need or expect. I'll talk with the Director, Sue, as soon as this meeting's over. She's probably watching it. But it's also in the county code, I believe, on all your boundary changes, the entire process. But our staff will help you with every step of this.
Perfect.
Yes, and also regarding the template that says Beaver Creek on 2 other hamlets or CPOs, also needs to be changed. Gary, I'm sure you're on that.
Absolutely.
Now, this is what I would like to say. Regarding your zip code change, I am 100% before that because, commissioners, bear with me. I live on Beaver Creek Road. I'm in the city of Malino with the Malino zip code. I'm in the Molalla School District. I have a Beaver Creek phone, and I have a Beaver Creek mailing address, obvious, or Beaver Creek phone. But I'm 1 block away, this is a country, just 1 block away from the boundary line of the Molalla phone district, although we're in the Molalla school district and everything else. So I'm confused. I don't know which hamlet I am. I was told I was part of Molalla CPO because I am right at the delta of Molalla, Malino, and Beaver Creek.
Is your zip code 042?
My zip code is Malino. 97042.
You would become a member of our
I would become a member if I'm not already. I don't even know what I am because I ask. He says, well, no, you're here. No, you're here. So each one is telling me, and that's okay. You know what? I can do all 3, right? So I am so much in favor of this. It's totally logical. It's going to help on your mailings. I don't think I've got a mailing from you folks, but don't worry about it. So we're going to try to make that happen. It's probably going to be a process.
It is.
Yeah, it's going to be a process, but we'll get there, and we'll help very much on that. Commissioners, do you have any other comments for Laurel?
Thank you, Laurel. Sounds to me like you got some dynamic folks down there in Malino Hamlet.
Yes.
Keep doing a good job.
Yes, we do.
I have a question.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for being here. And I am just remembering when I was a baby, brand-new commissioner, and I went out and visited all of our CPOs, there was one moment driving through them with Malino and driving through there that my breath was literally taken away just at the beauty of the community. And it's incredibly important to build the community and to preserve it and continue to foster all those connections. So
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Commissioner Schrader.
Hi, it's great to talk to you. I wanted to ask, is the airport still there?
The airport is still there. The
Okay.
state has taken it over.
Okay.
I mean, it's kind of gone through some.
Changes, yeah.
Some changes, yeah. They run a skydive school out of there now. A couple of years ago, Pacific Northwest Skydiving came in, and we had some adjustments with citizens who were livid. Oh, my gosh. They packed our meetings for a couple of months, and Skydive had some problems in the beginning. But it really is fun to see our airspace dotted with beautiful parachutes on beautiful sunny days. So, the community got used to it. But yes, the airport's there, and it is now run by Oregon Department of Aviation.
Okay, thank you for that. I remember it as a small regional airport and had friends who flew in out all the time.
Oh, yeah, and they used to have a fly-in every year,
Right,
a
yeah.
blueberry pancake fly-in, and I
I
don't see
remember.
any signs this year, and I wish I knew more about that, but I'm gonna.
Oh, find out for us, will you?
I'm going
Yeah, I
to put it
remember
on the
that,
social
yeah.
media. There's some water project going on that we didn't know anything about, so people are contacting the Hamlet board. What's going on Graves Road? And we're like, we don't know, and you feel really bad about not knowing. So we have a social media, we have a Facebook, residents of Malino, and that's how we all communicate with each other. So I just got on there and I posted, what's going on Graves Road? And several people were able to answer rather quickly. So I'm going to do the same about the blueberry pancake thing, because that's an annual event our family really looks forward to. And planes come from all over the Pacific Northwest and land there, and you can look at their planes and just enjoy a wonderful day.
Well, if you find out, let us know, please.
I will.
Thank you.
It should be soon. Blueberries are going crazy right now.
It's probably August. I remember it was, second week of August or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Commissioner Savas?
Yeah, I had two questions, and then the fly-in was one of them. I haven't been there since the last event, before COVID, so love to know if it is in fact on or not. That'd be great. And it was the last Saturday in August was the
August
festival?
27th, starting at 5 o'clock.
Okay. And I've done that before too, and I can't believe how many people came out. So
That's great.
it's a lot of folks come out to that event. So it was really
We're
really nice.
expecting a huge turnout this time as well, just because we haven't seen each other in 3 years. And so everybody's just super excited. The parent group at Malino Elementary School, it's at Malino Elementary School. They donate their facility. The parent group is super involved in it, and we just get all the businesses to really help out. And it is our once a year celebrating ourselves, basically.
It is.
My last question is, does your Hamlet still meet at the airport in that one
do.
building?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we
I've
meet
been-
in the
yeah.
Pilot's Lounge at the airport the third Thursday
Okay.
at 7:15.
Thank
Okay,
you so much.
Great.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Laura. I see the skydivers on my way home.
Aren't they beautiful?
It's so
Some of them are
peaceful.
crazy.
It really is peaceful, colorful, just kind of,
Seriously.
floating down. Yeah.
Yeah, you get the really experienced ones that are, oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming and giving a very informative report. Let us know how it's going with the petition and anything else you need.
Okay, thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Okay, Tony, we have others online.
At this time, I would like to introduce Steve Jaggers. Mr. Jaggers, you have 3 minutes. Please state your name and area of residence. Mr. Jaggers, you're currently on mute.
Yes, good morning. Thank you. I was distracted. I would like to speak to the Oak Grove Library and my appreciation for all of the work that has gone on in the past. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm a Jennings Lodge resident on River Road. And the Oak Grove Library Project has been near and dear to myself and my family, as we have participated in all of the meetings to help with the design process and so forth. And so I'm particularly concerned that there are rumblings that it might not get funded. And there was a time which I had understood that the funding was nearly in place. So I just want to remind you all that libraries are a huge contributor to the greater good for our citizens that they serve. so many people in so many different ways. Oak Lodge Library, if you've been there, is rather limited in its scope due to its size. And so being able to expand up into the Concord school space and turn that into a real community center, I think is a huge potential value to the community. And I just want to speak to the hope that y'all will find a way to make that happen. And as different monies become available, consider that, you know, you've heard it before, we're unincorporated and we often don't get the same attention and funding directed our way. This is a great opportunity for the county to really step up and make this library project come together. So that's my hope and plea, and I hope that something good will come of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Tony? Next.
Our next speaker is Grovery Jeffrey Bornfield. Mr. Bornfield, you have 3 minutes. Please state your name and area of residence.
Thank you. My name is Grover Jeffrey Bornefeld, and my area of residence for the last 31 years has been Jennings Lodge. And I'm sorry I'm not there in person, but due to health issues, I'm working from home right now. Good morning to you all. I really want to speak to, and as you know, I've been quite actively involved in community volunteering here, both in our CPO and our library boards and our North Clackamas Parks District Advisory Board, District Advisory Committee. So I want to appreciate the number of times that y'all have heard the community input from local library needs since 2008. If you remember, 300 people participated in advocating to keep our library in Oak Lodge. Thank you for hearing in that and responding. Thank you also for putting in place the library task force that had worked for nearly 4 years to come up with a unanimous suggestion with hundreds of local residents participating in multiple events to identify the scope and design for our one library in 2 branches to serve both Oak Lodge and Gladstone population. We've also combined our library boards. We have now a combined county library board made up proportionally as needed for that. But since 2018, the library district came up with unforeseen costs and funding. So we did all that work, and then we found out the cost and funding shortages were there, caused everything to be put on hold, and then the exacerbation of the COVID-caused shortages and building costs has kept that running, as you all know as well, if not better than I do. The issue I want to speak to is, with the money from the American Rescue Plan, specifically, as I understand it, designed to address those shortages of COVID costs and the impact of that, could be the solution here. And I was so pleased to hear yesterday that, in fact, both the Gladstone Library for $6 million and the Oak Lodge Library portion for, I think it's $8.6 million, is being earmarked for that, or considered, let's make it that way. And I really want you to focus on what is needed to make that work, because this is one-time money. We have the last 2 libraries since the library district was formed that have still look like they did before. We are totally insufficient, both in Gladstone and in Oak Lodge, and this is an opportunity to make that right. The promises in the 2008 would be that library services would be provided, and this is the last loose end, and I so hope that you can see the way to make that work. There are a lot of people. I was so happy to see Steve called in. We have hundreds of people who ask me all the time, what's up with the library? And I keep telling them it's in the works. So this is an opportunity to actually make that true and have it be for all of us to be celebrating that. And so that's what I want to speak to. That's what I want to ask. I particularly want to point out this would finish it all. And I was concerned in the last part of yesterday's meeting when the discussion about how this rating system, the voters were promised that we would complete this and make the library district whole. And that's still missing. And Performance Clackamas talks about keeping those promises And those both got incredibly low scores. Out of 20 points, they both got half or less.
Thank you, Grover.
I'd like to-
Grover, thank you very much.
I'm
I
here to be-
appreciate your advocacy for libraries. Yes, they are important. I'll just caution anybody listening, this board has not voted or made decisions on any of the ARPA funds. No funds have been yet, quote, earmarked. Gary, when is that policy session coming up?
So just yesterday, you directed staff to come back to you with what eligible costs, how ARPA funds could be used for all the construction projects. We'll likely, if with your approval, bring it back to you right after Labor Day, so about a
And
month.
Grover said something else about an $8.6 million ask. I'd be more than happy to be able to build that library for $8.6 million. And if he's satisfied with that, maybe that's a point of consideration. Tony, anybody else?
If there is anyone else who would like to speak, please use the raise hand feature at this time. Madam Chair, I do not have any hands raised.
Thank you very much. I will now close the public communication portion of this meeting, and we'll move on. Gary, what's up next?
Next up is County Administrator Update. That's me. I always like to share good things and good news that our county employees and our programs are doing. Today, I want to share with you our transportation and development staff and planning received a prestigious award from the Oregon Department of Land Conservation and Development. It is the 2022 Achievement in Community Engagement Award. This award recognizes organizations that actively promote and implement key values through outstanding community engagement. So Clackamas County received an award for our outreach on the multicultural outreach for middle housing zoning code amendments. Our extensive outreach efforts were part of that process for developing and adopting middle housing rules for unincorporated Clackamas County. Our actions included holding discussion groups and surveys, both performed in 5 different languages to engage as many people as possible, especially those who have not traditionally been involved in the county planning process. So congratulations and thank you to our planning staff in transportation and development and public and government affairs for their work in helping us achieve this award. Next, a kind note we received from Mary, a person who just recently adopted a stray dog from our dog services shelter. And this Mary also recognized one of our dog services employees, Laura Kohler. So Mary wrote, Laura was so polite, professional, and answered all of our questions, some of which we hadn't even asked yet. She answered everything we needed to know and made our visit so pleasant, and the dog is wonderful. All the neighbors love the dog, and we love the dog, and Laura is an amazing asset to your whole complex there. I wanted someone to know how much she was appreciated. So thank you, Laura, for the outstanding service, and thank you, Mary, for the kind note about our staff. That's my update today, Commissioners. Thank you.
Great, thank you. It's now time for Commissioner communication. I believe Commissioner Scholl, you're up first today.
Yes, good morning. On a fun note, next Tuesday, 2 August, is the 14th Annual National Night Out celebration at the Happy Valley Park in Happy Valley. I was there last year. It was a really good time. Last year, we had fireworks that was made possible by the Happy Valley Parks and Recreation and Emirate International. This year, those 2 entities are going to bring you an electric light show, which I'm told is as good as the fireworks show. Safety first, right? It's 6 to 9 p.m. Next Tuesday, 2 August, and make sure you bring along a lawn chair. I'll see you there. On the Metro Policy Advisory Committee, MPAC, last night we had a meeting. I'm just going to hit the highlights real quick, and I'll tell you more detail Tuesday at the Commissioner Liaison comments. We talked about solutions to homelessness. We talked about the Regional Transportation Plan, congestion pricing policy development for 2023, and ODOT talked to us about the Oregon Highway Plan tolling policy amendment and the low-income toll report. But for people of the county, I'd like to remind you that the seismic improvement and widening of the Abernathy Bridge is now underway, but the tolling plan issue is still being discussed, and residents need to be part of the discussion. ODOT, Metro, Clackamas County websites have more information. Please get involved. On farming, as you go around this county, you'll find that farming is absolutely huge, and it seems to be getting bigger all the time. The wet spring brought Clackamas County a lot of weeds, and one of them is tansy ragwort. As a problem this year. Tansy ragwort needs to be pulled. Mowing it will only make it come back again. If you have the tall yellow flowered tansy on your property or along your road, please help us reduce the problem. Pull it before it can get into the feed of our horses and cattle in the county. Thanks for your help on that. I pulled my tansy last week. On heat conditions, you've been informed last week, and I want to remind you again today that if you need information on cooling centers, or if you know somebody needs to be helped the next couple of days, see our Clackamas County Disaster Management for points of contact and places to go. On safety off the street, I again want to remind the county that these safety off the street projects that our H3S and our housing people have brought to your attention here a few months ago is step one for us to address the problem of people who have no place to sleep at night. And we need the entire community to help the county come up with these projects. Nonprofits, churches, and businesses all need to check it out and see what you can do to help. On the Portland Water Bureau Bull Run Treatment Project, and this affects citizens in Clackamas County over in the east end of the county, Sandy, and the Cottrell area. Last night, the Portland City Council held a meeting on the 2022 annual report for the Bull Run Treatment Project, its funding and schedules for construction, etc. Many people in the east end of the project get water off the same system that the city of Portland does. That's the Bull Run water system. The city of Sandy has got a 10-inch pipe going to it. Where I live, we have another system that uses that water. But the concern out there is that this new filtration plant is very expensive. It's expensive or more expensive than the Abernathy Bridge retrofit. Could bring a cost of a 450% increase to water. So I bring this to your attention for people who are interested and want to comment to the Portland Water Bureau. See the portlandoregon.gov website and make your comments and learn more about it. Also on crime, I was at a meeting last week with the sheriff's office, and I want to remind people in the county that there is a online reporting website that the sheriff maintains, and they ask people in the county if you're aware of a no suspect, non-injury crime, go to the clackamas.us sheriff website, and there's an online report you can make. If you report crimes, it helps the sheriff's department develop information on the area where they can then refocus their police assets. So that's very important. Online crime reporting with the Clackamas Sheriff's Department. And finally, one more thing here on forestry. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is seeking public input on a draft environmental impact statement about the barred owl management strategy. I know this is tiring, folks. It goes back to the spotted owl issue, but it does have a big effect on forest products industry in this county, and so I want to call that to your attention. For more information, you can go to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife website and then just type in barred owl management strategy and let them know how you feel about the issue. And with that, stay cool, stay calm, and be happy. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Scholl. Commissioner Schrader, you're up.
Well, hi, everyone. It's nice to be here, back with my colleagues. Commissioner Fisher and I just got back from the National Association of Counties Conference in Colorado, and I'm going to tie that into some local initiatives that we've been doing here. One thing I want to let you know, colleagues, and I brought a copy home for us, that we are local economies in the global market, County Economies 2020. An issue brief from Mako, Clackamas County, is mentioned in that nationally. We basically, the county, over 400,000 people. We have a nominal gross domestic product of 21 billion. Total international exports in 2017 were 2.4 billion. Total capital foreign investment from 2003 to 2018 was 144.6 million. And this is from the NACO County Explorer data that you can all look up. This is information that is a little older, but it's still pertinent as we move forward with this. Basically, we're mentioned as adjacent to Portland. Clackamas County is a medium-sized county with nearly 2.4 billion of exports and over 15,000 jobs supporting by exports in 2017. Agriculture, food processing, metals, and manufacturing are some of the county's largest export sectors. So we are recognizing the role of our county's businesses in bringing wealth to the county. And don't worry, I'm also going to talk about small businesses too, because there's an initiative going on there. So I had an opportunity to present and talk about what we've been doing. And now, thanks to, as we said earlier, COVID kind of, pulling back a little bit. I mean, it's still out there, but now we're beginning to get together again. I have also had an opportunity to visit two of our major businesses this past week, and actually before I left to go to NACO. First, I visited Precision Cast Parts. I met with Deirdre Molander, the Vice President, David Dugan, Corporate Communications, Mike Kuawa, I hope I'm saying that appropriately, their president. And why are they important to us? They are a Clackamas County company. They are based here in Clackamas County. They're a global manufacturer of complex metal components and products. And folks, I brought this for you to see. Wow. They are one of the biggest producers nationally of jet engines. They are basically world-class, and if you take a look at what they've been doing here, a leading producer of aerospace structural components, from the smallest fasteners to the largest beams. An opportunity, if we can all get there, to see their manufacturing process, how they actually make the components, how they use everything from wax to kind of make the shell for it, and how they pour the materials in order to make these importance. They have over 33,000 worldwide employees. Their headquarters is here in Clackamas County and Portland. And basically, aerospace by market, 80%. Large commercial, military, regional, and business power, 10%, industrial gas turbines, oil and gas, and other industrial things. And by the way, if you take a look at this piece that they have, PCC operations right here in Clackamas County. I don't know if you can see it, colleagues, but all that white, that's where they are in the other countries across the globe. They are a huge, huge, huge multiplier for the aerospace industry and allowing our other small businesses to succeed as they're part of the supply chain. So that was really, really cool. All right, the other business I just got back from, and this is pretty exciting, and it's got an entomology story affiliated with it. I just went to Oregon Tool. It used to be named Blount. Actually, I've got enough of these for all of you if you want.
Oh, good. I'll take one.
Something here, pass it down that way, guys.
Good.
I think I'm just going to use, I'm going to use it just to show real quick to the people, and then I'm going to give it to you guys. Basically, they used to be Blount. They have basically renamed themselves as Oregon Tool. They are the biggest manufacturer of chainsaw components in the world. And here's how it happened. It was a man named Joe Cox. After the Tillamook burn happened, he was out in the forest looking at salvaging wood, and he found timber beetles out there. And he took a bunch. This is a true story. They have this on their website. And he thought, well, that's interesting, that this beetle larva. I'm an entomologist, so I'm excited about this, guys, okay? He saw them efficiently chewing through wood fiber. So he was just kind of out there looking at this. He literally brought them home in his pocket, and he watched them. And what he noticed was that the apparatus of how the beetles chewed. Okay, you don't understand how exciting this is for me. I mean, this is like amazing. Okay, so this is true. And I said, why did you tell me this earlier? He looked at how the mouth apparatus went, and he designed the chainsaws to match the natural component of the beetle's mouth parts. And that's how the modern day chainsaw came into being, and he was the one that really founded that. And they actually, it was hysterical. They were like, "You're an entomologist. This is how we were founded." And I was like, "Oh my stars, this is crazy sauce." But now they are the world-class manufacturer of chainsaws, components. Once again, international. They have a place in England. I told them I was going to visit my daughter, so colleagues, I'm going to go plan and visit their factory while I'm there and bring back a report for you about what they're doing in England. But they are also all over the world. The other thing that they have, which is really phenomenal, and here I'll send it out, is the Tree Initiative. It's making a positive impact on people, communities, and landscapes. So they basically provide training, recovery, environmental work, education work, and they basically, when there are burns and when there are, wildfires, they actually go out, use their products, and volunteer their time for cleanup.
Wow.
So I brought all of this for you, and anytime you want to maybe go and see what they're doing. I couldn't go on the tour myself because I was stupid enough to wear sandals, and as you know, if you go into a manufacturing center, but they are phenomenal. And lastly, I'd like to talk a little bit about this. You're like, okay, but we're small business here too. All right, so from the National Association of Counties as well, they are partnering with the Marion Kaufman Foundation to support county investments in small businesses. They want county efforts supporting small business. They want obstacles the counties face in providing support, local strategies for enhancing and supporting small business startup, retention, and growth. We did business recovery centers, colleagues. We did them here. This should be put in a document like this nationally, because we are innovating nationally and how we have helped with recovery and how we helped our small businesses. Now, that isn't all of it, because next week, under issues, we'll talk about spaceports. Honest to God, the FFA, I found out, licenses spaceports, and I'm just wondering what Malino thinks about that.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm not kidding, but that is actually a reality, and I will bring you a complete report next week on the initiatives we passed for lobbying the federal government for our county as well as other counties across the nation in economic development. But thank you, I'm pretty excited. It's just really cool. Oh, and today I'm going to meet with the USDA Ag person, not the Oregon Department of Agricultural person on, Tootie, you'll love this, exports.
Yay.
Okay, so I'm going to get the data of what we're exporting from this county, what the berries are, where the countries are going, because now that we can really start moving, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, because of COVID, we just gotta break out, man. It's just time to rock and roll again.
Thank you.
All right.
I appreciate your report, and I look forward to more information coming our way. I'm glad you're motivated on that, Commissioner Schrader. Up next, Commissioner Fisher.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Smith. Thank you, Martha, for all of that wonderful report and interesting tidbits, especially about the beetles. That is
sorry, that was
amazing. Oh, don't you apologize for that. That was wonderful. Really appreciate the information. Thank you, Commissioner Scholl, for all of your wonderful information to share. Really appreciate that. And like Commissioner Schrader, I was also in Adams County, Colorado, and my focus was Human Services and Education. Our steering committee went on a tour of a facility that was built as a one-stop shop, and it was very interesting to see all of the services that Adams County provides in this area. And they actually there administer many of the services that in our county are administered by the state. And one is their child welfare services. And with all of the issues that we all hear about, because we all read the newspaper and we all know the challenges of what our children go through the foster care system, it didn't pass me by the thought of how much better could it be if Clackamas County were administering child welfare for our children in our community, because kids are one of our first priorities. But with that, saw some very innovative efforts to support children and families in Adams County, which I'm excited to connect with in our local community with Seth Lyons, who is the leader here in Clackamas County for our Child Protective Services. So lots of information, lots to share. It was really hot in Colorado, and Commissioner Schrader could attest to that. But it wasn't as challenging as here, because here we have more humidity, and in Colorado it was very dry. So, Commissioner Schrader, I don't know if you know this, but they've had flash floods there since we have returned, and in Aurora County, it's been some very significant issues there in Aurora County.
I didn't know that.
So back home, here with the heat concern, and we're also concerned about potential flash floods with our heat, looking at those reports, looking at the challenges. So, Gary, I have to say, I know you didn't mention staff on this, but the excellent work in doing the cooling centers, our human services, getting out there to communities and doing all that we can. You know, this is so new to counties didn't do this level of work even, 3 years ago. We didn't have to take such efforts to make sure that we provided a safety net in these times, and I'm really thankful for what our staff is doing. And what I really encourage people to do, and I appreciate Commissioner Scholl mentioning it, as well as in this heat, reach out to the people you know that may not have air conditioning or air conditioning that works real well. Invite them over to spend a few nights if you do have air conditioning, and just support each other, because I don't know if anybody's had heat exhaustion, but I had one moment just trucking up Misery Ridge there at the Smith Rock Mountains, and all of a sudden I was on that ridge and I was on the ground, dizzy, incoherent, disoriented, and I couldn't move. I was just sitting there. Thankfully, we had electrolytes in the backpack, and I was able to drink them and get good enough to get off that Misery Ridge. But sometimes you don't know when that heat exhaustion is going to hit you, and it's dangerous. I know that I've had the opportunity just in the last few days just to talk to different workforce, see what our accommodations are doing. There's new OSHA rules at certain heat levels. Certain workers aren't supposed to work. There needs to be shade, water provided. And I'm very, very inspired by the changes that are happening. Like painters, our painters union is painting starting at 4 o'clock in the morning and stopping before the heat of the day. But I did have a conversation with a constituent last night who's a U.S. postal worker and is literally delivering the mail in 100 degrees. And there's a fan in the truck, but there isn't air conditioning. I'm very concerned about what that can mean for folks. I heard it secondhand, I don't know if other people heard it, but of a UPS worker collapsing, and I'm not sure, Commissioner Scholl, you might know what happened there, but we need to be mindful, we need to set the standard, we need to set the example, and we need to change our culture around this issue, because this kind of heat is unprecedented, and I think it's with us now, moving forward. Thank you, Chair Smith, for allowing me to share what's on my mind.
Oh, absolutely. You guys do what you need to. Commissioner Savas, you're up.
Yeah, appreciate all the input. 48 years ago, I was working at a machine shop, fabrication shop that was specialized in aerospace, aeronautics, and water propulsion. And we were a last-stop shop for things that were either near impossible to build, but we were a problem-solving facility. And I remember one of the projects we got was this titanium helix propulsion device, if not a device, but a piece. And we had to machine that by hand after it came from the casting manufacturer. And the casting manufacturer was Precision Cast Parts from Clackamas County. 48 years ago. I was like, wow. But it was a state-of-the-art research and development project for water propulsion, but it had this unique design. It was a fascinating story, but I won't go there. But Precision Cast Parts has been involved in a lot. We had a lot of interesting things come through there, and exotic metals. Titanium is an exotic metal. Yeah, they've been a staple, frankly, in the industry of propulsion and jet engines and also rotary engines as well. Saturday, I attended our Equity and Diversity Festival outside here. I really appreciate all the county staff and all the people that participated in that, all the other nonprofits that were here. It seemed to be really well attended. The weather was really nice on Saturday. It wasn't too hot. And I just want to thank our leadership here in the county for making sure we put that together and do that as often as every year. I know we've had a break there from COVID, but I was really pleased. To see a lot of young leaders taking the initiative to advance what's on their minds or what they're focusing on, and to better enable them and to serve the citizens of our county in a fair way as possible. So I had a lot of great conversations. I did want to mention that National Night Out is something that started out, basically it was community driven, so it's probably happening all over the county typically, and sometimes some neighborhoods have to get permits from the city. But this year, if I'm not mistaken, there is some city-sponsored one in Sandy, in Oregon City, Happy Valley, Estacada, Molalla, and Milwaukee are ones that are doing a city-sponsored National Night Out as well. So you might want to call your local jurisdiction to see what they know is going on and just where those are happening. I mentioned on Tuesday just a couple things I thought were topical that were probably agenda-oriented that I learned from the Trolley Trail Festival a couple Saturdays ago. And one of that was Ridwell, which was coming up, and the second one was the trolley trail issue with bicycles speeding through and creating some dangerous situations. And I promised you I would come back and tell you a little bit more about what some of the other issues were that came up, and one of them was libraries, coincidentally. And we reckon back some of the people that sat on those committees back when Don Krupp was the administrator, got the assurances from administration and the Administrator Krupp and Administrator Schmidt through all these years and boards that this project would be closed out. We would do these two projects, and Don Krupp, our former administrator, was part of the negotiating team, as was I, in getting a settlement in that legal battle with the city of Gladstone and the unincorporated areas being represented by the county. And we came to a solution. It was one library, two locations, because Gladstone was mandated to build a library much larger than their community, and that was relatively unfair, which we agreed upon. But that debacle dates back to when Chair Smith's first term. A lot of emails since that time, but it's a fascinating story if you just look at the email threads that happened there. But tremendous support. We have, as some of the speakers have talked, and Gary knows this as well, we have given the assurances that that project would happen. How much of it is funded with general fund or how much is funded with ARPA, that remains to be seen, as the chair indicated. We'll sort that out. But I do think that the point taken there, that the ARPA funding was specifically for impacts as a result of COVID, and certainly inflation, construction inflation is one of those impacts that for that reason itself qualifies. But that's what I just wanted to share with you. I did hear some more feedback with regard to the Trolley Trail Festival. Some of the other issues that came up were, of course, as we always know, roads. Roads is a big issue. Safety on the streets when it comes to sidewalks, what's safe. Some of the paintings, like the markings on the roads, turn signals and so forth. Issues, just the typical thing you might hear in a community thing. But it was a wonderful event. It was well attended. It was about double the size it had been before, as I remember, as far as booths. So good job. Big shout out to H-Dog and also and all the members that made that happen and put that festival together, and the Trolley Trail groups. Great job. We had people from all over, not Oak Lodge, but Gladstone, Oregon City, West Lynn, had people from all over. So it was great. And that's what I have for today. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Savas. I want to thank Commissioner Scholl for mentioning tansy. We pulled a lot of that tansy in our farm as well. And it pulls out quite easily, but I drive on the same country roads or maybe other country roads. It is almost an epidemic proportion in Clackamas County. If people could just do their fence line and along the ditches where they live, county crews do not go out and pull tansy in our ditches. So if we all could take a personal responsibility for our little space, our county road crew keeps our roads going, the sight distance, and the gravel on the side, but they can't be pulling tansy. My farm is pretty much tansy-free, but I have a farm next to me that doesn't do it, and it really is a big issue, and thank you for that. It was so wet this year, and there are two organic methods to try to control it, and it is a beetle and a cinnabar moth. However, because our rains were so prolific this year, those moths and beetles did not hatch soon enough in the spring to live, to produce, to go and they eat the tansy buds. They don't completely eradicate it, but they control it, and it really is an issue. Thank you, Commissioner Scholl, for bringing that up. In Clackamas County, we have opened 25 cooling centers across the county. Go to www.clackamas.us. On the website, click on alerts to find one, or you can call 211. Call 211 to get information on a cooling center should you need it. We have 2 overnight cooling centers. One is Father's Heart in Oregon City, and the other is Molalla Hope in Molalla. Thank you for that. Yesterday, I attended the monthly meeting of the Willamette Falls Locks Authority. We had set up subcommittees before that. A lot of us reported back on scope of work for an executive director and budget and how to raise money. I'm here to report that we had a successful meeting yesterday in that we approved bylaws. Well, why is that important? Bylaws are necessary as our governance model. Bylaws are necessary to report, to apply to the Internal Revenue Service for our EIN number, and we cannot set up a bank account until we have an EIN. We cannot accept monies until we have a bank account. We cannot hire an accountant to help with our monies coming in, our donations, until we have a bank account. We cannot publicize a scope of work for our executive director until we have our governance model set up. So we're working diligently, all the members are on that. It was a very long discussion. It was almost a 3-hour meeting yesterday. Very hard work from Russ Axelrod and Christine Lewis to go through the bylaws. We had a ghost form, and we went and we filled in our stuff. Some was appropriate, some we took out, and it is basically a living document that we can change later. So we're moving ahead on that. There's a lot of really exciting things happening on that. I'm looking forward to National Night Out. I think I might attend one of those. Thank you, Commissioner Scholl, for raising that and reminding us all. We tend to get very busy with our schedules, and sometimes we don't see fun events. I attended the Happy Valley one last year, and it was tremendous. I can only imagine what this year is going to be like. Seeing no further business before this commission, we are adjourned.